Okay, it looks like we're now recording. So we've got a couple more folks still jumping on. For those of you that are able, if you will put your contact information in the chat for me, I would appreciate that. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? Tonight, our district superintendent from Cumberland Hagerstown is joining us. So welcome, John, for joining the information session tonight.
Thank you.
And John's going to open us with prayer before we jump into the nuts and bolts of the information session. So
before we pray together, let me just extend my welcome. Camp Joy is an awesome deal, and I don't know how many of you have participated in the past or are just looking to participate coming up in the summers, but this is a great opportunity. And I'm probably not going to stay the whole time. I just wanted to greet you and let you know that I'm excited for the possibilities for this summer. And I hope that you can sense that same excitement as Pastor Becky talks about this. I think you will see that and hear that. But I'm glad you're taking the time out of a busy schedule to find some information about Camp Joy. And I hope your church is blessed by this. So let's pray together. Gracious God, thank you for the ministry of each of these churches and the way that they engage their communities and the way they serve their communities, especially the way their youth and young adults reach out and serve their communities. And as the conversation takes place tonight about how Camp Joy might become a part of their ministry, and they might all work together to bless the people in Hancock and Berkeley Springs and southern central Pennsylvania. I just pray, Lord, that you, by your Spirit, would raise up a level of excitement, a level of commitment, and may everyone just be energized about all that you are doing through this ministry. So bless Pastor Becky as she leads us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So we have a small group tonight. Last week, we had 7 churches that were represented on an information call just like this tonight. So I'm excited that you guys are joining us to learn about Camp Joy. So I'm going to share my screen because we have sometimes pictures say more than the words do. So Camp Joy actually stands for something. It is the Christian Appalachian Mission Project joining other youth, and it's become known as Camp Joy. Camp Joy began over 30 years ago in 1990, and it was a vision of serving the homeowners in the Appalachian region of Maryland, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, serving them by helping with home improvement projects and doing the things that they cannot physically do or perhaps financially do. So, and it was a way of bringing youth from all over our conference and even outside of our conference into this mission ministry. So what exactly is Camp Joy? And this is a collage of pictures from last year's camp where you see a bunch of the youth working on various projects. You see adult leaders that are mentoring them. You see the fact that it is a camp, tent camping camp ministry. We have youth that are leading Vespers, and there is actually the sunrise picture there is one of my favorites because that is the quiet time in the morning as the sun is coming up over the mountains, and each person is in their own reflective place with God before the day gets started. So what is Camp Joy? It is a 1-week immersive experience where home repairs, that's how we're serving in this region. We are based out of Camp Harmison in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. Now, I'm in Hancock, Maryland, so which sounds like, oh my gosh, we're going across state lines. But out here, literally the distance between Pennsylvania and West Virginia is less than 2 miles, and I sit right in between it. So this is the region in which we serve here at Hancock United Methodist Church. And it's out of this church that this ministry came about, but it is not all about Hancock United Methodist Church. This becomes much bigger than one church. It becomes much bigger than 2 or 3 or even 4 churches. And we'll talk more about how that transpires with this ministry. The camp includes some free time for the kids, so it's not all work and no play. They do have some interaction, recreational time in the evenings after Vespers, and they get to experience worship, leading it and participating in it with other groups. So Camp Joy, you know, I've described kind of in a nutshell the work, right? It's home repairs, it's building ramps, it's repairing windows, it's painting, it's all of that stuff. But it is so much more than that. And unfortunately, I'm sad tonight, Emma could not join us. She is one of the youth who has participated for 5 years in this mission ministry. She also plays sports for school and her game got rescheduled. So we had a conflict tonight. So I'm going to try my best to describe how she described it last week. But I will tell you that all of the things that are on the slide right now are things that people have said to me about Camp Joy. Gabby, who is a youth from Hollywood in Southern Maryland, she said, you know, Camp Joy is an opportunity to be part of something bigger than myself. Wow, what a realization for a youth to realize that, right? She continued with, it's an outlet to be myself, and it's an experience I'll never forget. We hear about it being a call an answer to God's call to serve and love one another, that it's just pure joy. And, you know, it's the best week out of the year. I must hear that, like almost every adult that I talk to that has participated says, you know, this is really the greatest week of the year. But in a nutshell, it is a transformational experience. And it's not just transformational for the homeowners and the fact that their homes are being transformed. It truly is a transformational experience for those who are participating. They do learn that they are part of something bigger than themselves. There is spiritual growth. There is a recognition of the Holy Spirit at work, and they see it in real, tangible ways. So it's an amazing thing to experience and to be part of. Like I said, Emma is not here with us. So she started 5 years ago. We did not have a group that could go, but she was able to join with another group and serve for a week, and that lit a fire under her. Ever since then, we've had a group participate in one way or another that is still participating. Last year, our group was not able to field a work team, but they decided they still wanted to be part of Camp Joy. So they made breakfast. They came in at 5 o'clock in the morning and made breakfast for the teams that were serving. I was shocked. How many youth do you know want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to come make lunch? It was amazing. And they've even talked about this year that they want to do a work team for a week and maybe do breakfast one of the weeks. So it's that kind of an experience. They see the state of some of the homes. They see the loneliness that some of our elderly homeowners are experiencing. And they are moved by it. They're transformed by it. And they see God at work. So I didn't do Emma justice in trying to convey her words, but I am going to stop sharing for a minute and let Greg share a little bit about his experience as an adult leader who has served through this ministry for several years. So Greg, you're on.
All right. Well, Pastor Becky, thank you. And yeah, you're right. Emma's testimony in our last meeting was truly, truly just inspiring. And you also mentioned Gabby from Hollywood. I'll give you a quick story about her real quick. A couple years ago was her very first year going to Camp Joy. And I remember she was one of the youth that was working with my group. I don't know who she angered to get stuck with me, but she was stuck with me for the week. Anyway, riding up there, she's sitting in the back seat of my truck, and she's probably about 12, 13 years old. And you could tell this was the first time she'd been away from home, to go away to a week at camp. Very quiet. You could see the look on her face. What am I getting myself into? Oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I still remember we were doing a very small ramp in Paw Paw. And this was one of those jobs that you go in with one expectation. And, you start off with plan A, and it teaches you that when plan A does not work, well, there's plenty of other letters in the alphabet. I think when we finally ended this job, we were on about plan M or N. But anyway, by Friday, she looked at me and she said, I can't believe this week is over already. This was so great. I can't wait for next year. You could see it in her. She was glowing. And, this is kind of what happens to you when you come up there for that week. You really, yes, you work hard. It is such, at times, very demanding work. But, Gabby said it best when she said, you realize you're part of something much bigger than yourself. It really, truly helps you realize, we say all the time, it is better to give than receive. And, you give of yourself this week, but you receive so much. I go up there. My job is to mentor the youth, help, pass my knowledge on to them. They learn how to do these things for others. And yet I come away, I learned so much more from them than I could ever hope to teach them. I end up walking away with so much more than I went up there with. It's just amazing when you think about it. I've been going since 2015. And, when Pastor Becky said she hears so many people say, this is the best week of the year. It absolutely is. And sometimes it's not even the big things. You realize sometimes it's just something little. I shared a story, our last meeting, and I'll share it again for this one for y'all. There was one year we're up there. Gabby was with me on this one too. It was myself, Gabby, and one other youth. We'd gone over to fix a screen in the window for a resident of Berkeley Springs. Well, we get over there, we got that fixed. There was a couple other things she needed done. This was on Friday. We had a fantastic week and knocked everything out of the park that week. Sometimes it happens. Well, anyway, so she had a couple other things she needed done. We were happy to do it. And one of the things was, she got Meals on Wheels. She had one of these ceramic cooktops, the glass cooktops on her electric range. Well, that became part of her counter. She had papers and whatnot stored there. So she said, is there any way we can disconnect this oven so I don't accidentally start a fire? Well, of course, that's easy. We go to the breaker box, trip the breaker. Okay, it's not coming on. That took 5 minutes. But to her, that was huge. You just don't realize just how much something so little can be something so huge And this is the kind of thing you walk away from Camp Joy with. So, yeah, I look forward to it every year. I'm already counting down the days till July when I'm up there. And matter of fact, this year they even talked me into coming up for the second week to be a site coordinator. So if that doesn't tell you how much this really means, when you hear the stories on Friday night at Vespers of how this week has impacted you, it is one of the most beautiful experiences you'll ever see. And I don't think I can say anything else to top that.
Yep. Yeah. So we're going to talk about what a typical week looks like. So let me share my screen back again so that you guys can see. So the week starts on Sunday and it starts in the afternoon. Check-in at Camp Harmison is between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. You come in, you check in, you start setting up your camp, and it is tent camping. So you need to bring your tenting supplies and your camp supplies with you. Dinner is provided by a local church. And then there's a leaders meeting, and we have our opening night Vespers. And then there's free time. And you'll see that the ebb and flow of the days follow a very similar pattern. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, you get up early. Breakfast it'll be ready probably by 6 or 6:30, and then you guys head out and you'll be out on your job sites. Actually, breakfast may even be a little earlier this year, so that folks can get to their work sites by 7 or 7:30. But you pick up lunches, which are also provided. You get your waters, you get your ice for the day, and then you head out to your work sites. Each of the work sites are, we try to match the skill level of the work teams that are coming with the jobs that are needed to be completed. At the end of your day, we have dinner at a local church. So this is what I mean when I say this is bigger than just Hancock or bigger than just the churches that are here serving. We have local churches in the Maryland and West Virginia area that provide dinner for the campers. When dinner is over, we have Vespers back at God's Open Window, which is the outdoor chapel where you see down in the bottom left corner of the screen. And then the kids have free time after that until quiet time. So Wednesday.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Sure. Yep.
I just, some of the members of my youth have never camped before. So they may not actually have a camp, a tent to bring. Now, actually, I have probably 2, so I could probably loan one to some of the folks who haven't got one. But I'm assuming the expectation is everybody brings their own camping gear and all that as well.
That is
and
correct.
Find some site. Got it. Okay.
Yep, that's correct. So Wednesday is a little bit of a different day. Wednesday is a half day for work. And then at 1 o'clock, everybody shows up at the lake at Capon State Park, which is just a little ways from Camp Harmison. And we have a day an afternoon playing in the lake. This really is something that is needed because the kids are hot, the adults are hot, you've been camping, you've been working for 2.5 days. This is just an opportunity to be rejuvenated, to refresh, and to play. And the water games that spontaneously break out are hilarious. I know I ended up in the lake with the kids last year too, and somehow somehow it was a dodgeball game in the water. I'm not sure how that happened, but that's what happened. And then dinner is actually served at Capon State Park in the pavilion there nearby the lake. And we have Vespers actually at the state park, and then the youth groups head back to Camp Harmison. Now, This is something that has become something of a tradition with many of the youth groups. There is a Dairy Queen between Cacapen State Park and Camp Harmison. So inevitably, many of the youth groups find their way to DQ on their way back. And then, of course, the remainder of the evening, the youth have free time. Friday is also a bit of a different day. You still start the day the same way with breakfast, getting your lunches, going to your work sites, dinner at a local church. But then our Vespers is held in the lower meadow with a big bonfire. And this evening, Greg alluded to it, this is the evening where the youth share what this week where they've seen God, how they've been transformed, what it's meant to them. And the testimonies they can be anything from, I've never camped before and I'm not sure I really like it, to the experience of being humbled and that humble serving and they express it much more eloquently than I do in their teenage words and ways of just expressing it very raw, very real, very authentic. I know there were many times I was brought to tears last year as I heard the testimonies. So, and that's a time too that I would say to you, that Friday evening Vespers is open. So you can invite the members from your church. And I know some of you are 4 or 5 hours away, so maybe they wouldn't make that trip. But for those of you that are not that far away, that may be an opportunity for some of your other members of your community of faith to come and to hear the testimony right from the kids and the adults' hearts. And then Saturday morning breakfast is served and you check out and clean up and head home. So breakfast is, as you can see in that bottom left, it's a full-blown breakfast. Some days it's pancakes and sausage, some days it's eggs and bacon. It's all you can eat. So there's no reason you're going to start the day on a full belly as you head out to work. There's also cereal and toast and bagels and all kinds of other stuff too. So camping details. So Alan, this is the answer to your question. You must supply your own camping equipment. And when you guys register the youth groups and once you're registered, you'll receive a welcome packet. In that welcome packet is a suggested packing list for the individuals. So for the individual campers, and then also there are some tips from the pros, from those groups who have come for many years. And they've got some helpful hints in terms of things that they've learned along the way. So that will be in that welcome kit. It is important that your adults have some home repair knowledge to share. Now, that doesn't mean that they need to be the professionals or general contractors, but you know, we've got leaders that their area is my group can paint. We can paint. We don't handle any motorized tools or electric tools or anything like that. We can paint, or we can do yard work, right? So, or they can do basic. So on the registration form, you will see where we ask about skill level. So is it a group that has basic skill levels, or do they have the professionals that are leading them that have the advanced levels? So that we ask that so that we can match up projects to the skill level. So the repairs can be anything from repairing boards on porches or decks or steps. It could be handrails. It could or it could be building a ramp from scratch. It could be replacing windows. It could be scraping and painting the outdoors. All of the work this year will be outdoor work, and that's done because of COVID. We are not wanting to bring a group of youth into a homeowner's enclosed house. So the other caveat too is you must supply your own tools. So whatever jobs your skill levels meet, you need to be able to provide the tools to do those jobs. Okay, so the registration is $120 per person for the week. So that includes your meals, that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It includes a camp t-shirt, the camping fee, the lake outing at Cacapen State Park. And then we also ask that the groups do a donation of some or all of the supplies and materials, and or a financial donation to help offset the cost of the projects. Registration did open on February 1st. And I have to say, Greg, Candy was the first one. I think it opened at 12:01 on February 1st. And I think she had everything in by 12:03. I'm
actually surprised she took that long.
Right. So registration is on a first come, first served basis. And we are limiting each week to 75 campers. We are doing that because of the restroom and shower facilities at Camp Harmison, and wanting to make sure that we have ample time and space for folks so that it's not overcrowded in using the facilities. Again, that was a COVID, that was driven by COVID protocols. So registration will be open until May 1st, unless we reach that capacity of 75 campers per week sooner. So what do you need to do to register? The link for the registration form can be found on our website, and it will take you to a Google Doc or a Google form that you will fill out. So you want to complete that registration form, and that is a registration form for the group, and that's submitted electronically. And then we need you to mail to the church your registration fee that you'll calculate based on the number of people and how many extra t-shirts you want. And you will need to submit a certificate of liability insurance for your church with Hancock UMC listed as an additional insured. So that completes your registration. So once the registration comes in, then you're assigned a site coordinator. And the role that the site coordinator plays is pretty important, because the site coordinator will have been doing some work before they meet with you. They have met with the homeowners of the projects. They've evaluated what has been asked of us. They've put it into a category to try, and they've been part of matching up the skill set of the youth groups coming with the jobs that need to be done. They will be doing site visits from May 16th until May 28th. And then what is expected of the youth groups is that their leaders, their crew leaders who will be working with the youth on the job sites, will meet with the site coordinator and actually do a visit to the site so that they can see ahead before you get here what you're getting into. And then the youth group leaders and the site coordinators together will put together a materials list of what is needed to complete that project. That list is due a week after the site visit. A lot of that, the reason that we do this is so that we have time to order the materials. We have time to get them delivered to the site so that they're there when you arrive with your youth group so that you can hit the ground running. The other thing that we will need from you are the forms. We've got additional forms, right? Because your registration form is for the group, but then we need permission forms, the roster of your participants. We have a Camp Joy standards form, which is kind of the rules of the road. It's the rules that Camp Harmison has, and it's rules that Camp Joy has. It's nothing outrageous. It's really just making sure everybody's on the same page. As I think everybody who's here tonight is part of the United Methodist Church. If you work with youth or children, you will be familiar with laity sexual misconduct forms. We are requiring a copy of that for everyone over the age of 18 who is working with youth. So you may have filled those out at your church conference in October or November. We just need a copy of it. If you've got people who are working with the youth at Camp Joy who have not filled these out, then we will need them to fill them out and provide us with a copy. And then we also, lunch is not, here's what you get. You guys actually get to place your orders. We give you a menu of different sandwiches and things, and everybody gets to place their order for each of the days. So if you have somebody who can't stand turkey and they love peanut butter and jelly, guess what? They can have peanut butter and jelly every day if they want. So they've got multiple choices each day. So, but we do need those orders and those forms in by June 15th. Vespers. Vespers is it's a fun, it's just a great way to kind of bring the whole group together at the end of the day. It's a great way to honor God. It's a great way for the sharing and that fellowship of time together with God as the focus. We do ask that each group be prepared to lead Vespers one evening. And it's a 15-minute kind of thing. It's not a formal liturgy. It might be a skit. It might be some songs. It might be a story. It might be a drama of scripture. Use your imagination. That's wide open for each of the youth groups to do. We will have musicians there. So there will be music, praise music and camp music. If you have musicians in your group, please let us know. This is another area where we have a keyboardist right now, and I've reached out to a couple of other local musicians, but if there's somebody in your group that is musically inclined, this would be a great place for them to plug in. And then the Friday evening is the bonfire, and we will have Holy Communion at Friday Vespers. Free time. This is after Vespers and until 10 each evening, because at 10 o'clock it's quiet time. And 11 o'clock is lights out. So Sunday, we would like to have some sort of something to encourage the kids to interact with each other. So we want it to be free time, organically, not overly structured, but something to encourage interaction. So that's the balance that we're walking. Candy, who is one of the youth leaders she's from Hollywood also, she and I were brainstorming some ideas for how we could do that this year. And we looked at perhaps Sunday, some kind of an icebreaker, Monday, a field game in the lower meadow area, maybe card or board games in the upper pavilion. Wednesday would be open because they've been at the lake, and it should be pretty organic when they get back, but we'll see. And then Thursday, we talked about doing some kind of a Camp Joy scavenger hunt where they partner up with somebody from a group that's not their own. So those are just some ideas for this year to encourage that interaction. So are there questions? This is kind of the dialogue time.
Pastor Becky, it's Alan again. our youth group it's kind of dynamic, and it's not that large. It varies depending on the week, from like 3 to the most is like 7 or 8 folks. And us youth leaders, it's me, my wife, and another couple. We're not particularly handy. I've worked on other building projects, so I can swing a hammer a little and spend less than 50% hitting my nail or hitting my thumb, but not a lot more. So I'm wondering if it's possible to kind of join with another, like if our particular group is small, can we sort of join with another work team that's
absolutely
more senior, sort of, and better with
absolutely that? In fact, okay. My group is actually a fairly small group as well. We usually have about 6 to 8 kids that come on, it fluctuates, right? But not all of them are going to be able to do the week at Camp Joy, because some of them have summer jobs that they are not able to, we've had those conversations. So I would anticipate that I'll probably have 5 or 6 maybe kids that would be coming. And we have some adults there. Now, I didn't do a round of introductions, but Mark and I talked earlier, and Mark is, his church does not have a youth group that's going to come, but the men's group there has expressed an interest in figuring out how they could serve Camp Joy. So it may be that there would be somebody in Mark's group that would be able to help with that. It may be that you could be with our group. It may be, we'll be able to figure that out. So I wouldn't say, oh, count you out because you don't have a whole lot of experience. I'm pretty certain that painting and yard work, and we always get painting and yard work, that could be a starting point. Or we could put you with other groups that have more experience, and then you guys learn as you go. So that absolutely is doable.
Okay, good. I thought
we'll find a way to make it work.
Yep.
Exactly. One of the things that, like Pastor Becky was saying, you don't necessarily have to be the handiest person. You don't have to be on a first name basis with the staff at Lowe's and Home Depot.
Like Greg is, just so you know.
Yeah, but you probably don't want to hear what the staff of Lowe's has to say back. I really can't say that in a church meeting. But no, there are plenty of things that, I can tell you right now. Yes, every year there's going to be painting to be done. There is yard work to be done. And it seems like every year a crew goes out to Paw Paw to build a wheelchair ramp part 3. This is given. And if you guys want to work with one of the more experienced groups that have put up these ramps, by all means. If you just kind of want to get your feet wet a little bit and see, feel it out, what's going on, again, by all means, there's going to be enough work to go around.
Okay.
Our goal right now, we've put out about 200 homeowner applications in the area. And we put those out at the senior centers. We put those out at the libraries, with the social service agencies. So like with our Interfaith Service Coalition, with the I'm drawing a blank on the name of it in Berkeley Springs. Anyway, it's where the senior center and the social services all are out of. So, and I've been working with local pastors in Berkeley Springs and Little Orleans and Cacapen and Hancock to get the word out and to get applications in the hands of those, because a lot of our homeowners, they don't have internet, they don't have a computer. So to do it electronically that's not how we connect with those homeowners. I know that we've already had 3 inquiries from homeowners, and I can tell you that we'll probably have at least 2 that we had projects that still need work from last year, where we were able to do some of the things on the list that they had, but we weren't gonna be able to complete it all last year. Our goal is to have 50 home sites to work on over the 2-week time frame.
Okay.
So, and it'll be a wide range of stuff. It always is. So, those applications all went out last week. So I would envision that probably in about 2 weeks, we'll start to see them trickling in. The deadline for those is May 1st. So we'll be steadily getting those in over the next couple of months. A couple of things with the camping. We had a group last week that was sharing some pro tips. So I'll just throw out some of those that they talked about last week. So they recommend that instead of using like duffel bags, to pack your stuff in totes, because inevitably we get rain every once in a while. So it keeps things dry.
Yes.
It also makes it easier to pack and stack. And they can be used, I think it was Connie who said, and it can be used as an end table in the tent.
Yes.
Okay. The other big thing, because we had a youth from one of the churches ask about critters in the area, right? So we are in the mountains, so there are critters. So there are a couple of things with that. One is we want to be very cautious about how much food you bring, and it needs to be stored in tightly sealed containers, preferably in a vehicle, because we do have raccoons, we do have bears. So we really don't want those visiting us during the night, just saying.
No.
So, you know, that's why the cooking is done at one of the pavilions and those doors are locked at night. I mean, everything is put in there. We don't leave anything out overnight. But we also have bees and wasps. And so you're going to want to bring a whole lot of wasp spray. Candy talked about, it wasn't just at the campsite, but it was when you go to the homeowner sites. You pull down a piece of the, what's that called? The fascia. Did I call that right, Greg? The
fascia board.
Fascia boards. Pull that down and you've got a wasp nest up in there. So those are just some of those lessons that have been learned through the year.
I have been on a site, matter of fact, it was with Candy, and we were fixing the roof on a porch outside of Great Cacaven. And literally I pulled up this board on this roof. And I mean, this is the largest wasp nest I ever have seen in my life. I looked at Candy, I said, how many cans of wasp spray do we have? I want them all now. So wasp spray is a good thing.
Yep. So other questions?
I had a question in regard, you mentioned COVID. What kind of COVID protections or precautions or whatnot are for the, the week while the kids are there?
So we're outside, right? So we're outdoors.
Yep.
Each of the groups have their own area that they are in. We have, as Camp Joy, we are leaving it to the individual youth groups to make the call on that. I had somebody ask if we were requiring vaccination.
Vaccination is really the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, we are not requiring that.
Gotcha.
I mean, I would encourage it, but I'm not, but we're not requiring it. We are outside. It is summer.
Yes.
We've reduced the number of people. In years past, we've had 125 each week. So we've cut that number to 75 so that we've got more room to spread out.
Okay.
What are the age groups or age range of the youth that you're
It's middle school and high school. They have to be 12 years old at the time of camp. many of the youth groups, so I'm gonna address the younger age is an easy one for me to say because it's a minimum age of 12.
Right.
The upper end is a little bit harder because some of the youth groups have junior leaders. They have kids that are recently graduated from high school, or they may be college kids that have come back for the summer. And this is the place that they plug in because there aren't other young adult places for them to plug in. So they serve as junior leaders. We are okay with that. We're not saying they have to only be, that it has to stop at 12th grade. But that is at the discretion of the youth groups and how they work within their own churches.
Cell phone policy that you're trying to maintain for camp discipline? No.
No.
Good luck getting one to work at Camp Harmony.
Right.
That's what I was curious.
There's no cell service out there. So it's
Good.
kind of a non-issue in most cases. Now, they do charge them, and you see chargers all over the pavilions because they play their games on them.
Right.
But on the work sites, I did not see any. And I was at most of the sites. I don't think I made it out to Paw Paw last year, but I was on most of the sites, and there wasn't a cell phone to be found because they were busy working.
Good.
And that may have been the discipline of the individual youth, whatever the youth group policy is, that may have been part of it. I only saw the cell phones in the evening during free time, and they were playing games. They weren't talking on them because there's no cell service out at Camp Harmony.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you tried to discourage that because you wanted the interaction during that free time or not. So, okay.
I don't know, Greg, last year I didn't.
I know in Hollywood, our policy is that the only time you're allowed to bring the cell phones out when you're at the job site is when we're taking either one of our breaks. I know, like, we like to set up one of the easy ups there, and periodically during the day, we'll take like a break in the morning, break in the afternoon, then we break about midday for lunch. And when you're on those breaks, if there's a signal, you can use it. But we ask you not to use it during the time you're supposed to be working. We'll let you take pictures and things like that because we do encourage the photos. Pastor Becky had some wonderful photos to share this evening, and this is how we get them. But yeah, otherwise we ask them not to be on the phones just because, we want to focus on getting the work done for our clients there.
Yep.
And I think this year with doing that evening activity that we were talking about during the free time to encourage that interaction, that's something that came out of last year's after action review of camp was what can we do to further encourage that interaction between the groups so that they're not just groups independently camping, that they're actually mingling and meeting each other and
meeting
learning
new friends.
each other.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, one of the things that frankly has really impressed me every year that I've been up there is that, by the time Friday rolls around, these different identities of the different groups, it's not Hollywood, it's not HIS, it's not whatever, St. Paul's, it's not Hancock.
It's Camp
Everybody
Joy.
becomes Camp Joy. And it's amazing to see the youth from these different little groups all come together as one. It is, I remember a couple years ago at the Vespers on Friday night, when we have the big bonfire, and we were singing Kumbaya, and just organically, it ended up being this huge semicircle around the campfire.
I think we had
all
a
the
picture
groups
of that.
together holding
Yeah,
hands.
I saw. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, hang on. Here's the picture of it.
But that was totally organic.
Right.
Yeah, if you could look in your lower right-hand corner there, that happened totally organic. It wasn't pre-planned. It's just everybody got together. So, yeah, that's truly amazing. It's one of the things you will when you come up there and see it. Words cannot describe it.
And I know my kids are still in touch with some of the kids from Hiss and Hollywood, because last year it was a very small group. There were only about 40 campers. So they really kind of did get to know each other a lot because it was a smaller group.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they still, because every so often I'll hear one of them say, "Oh, I got a Snapchat from somebody at Hiss," or and I'm like, okay, I didn't even know you guys had exchanged contact, but I guess that's just the nature of youth these days. So
yeah, Hannah, Taylor, and Emma, I remember Saturday morning, they had their Snapchat aliases and all that posted right there. Believe me, I teased them about that.
They were hilarious on so many levels.
Oh, I'd say where they got their energy from at that time of the morning, it takes me a couple cups of coffee to get to that point.
There is something special about Camp Joy, and about there's just something really, I don't know, humbling about being in the outdoors and watching the sun come up over the mountains. And you really do realize there's so many moments that make you realize that you really are part of a bigger plan.
Absolutely.
Other questions? I see we have Andrew, you've joined us. Do you have any questions?
No. I see it's being recorded, so will this be sent out so I can catch up on what I missed?
Yes, and if you will put your contact information in the chat for me, I'll make sure you get it.
Okay. Yeah, sorry I was late.
That's okay. And I see Bob, Mark, Levon, anybody else have questions?
Oh, I just had another additional question about cell phones coverage. You did say it's spotty. I'm just curious in terms of, oh, gee, someone, gets stung by a bee and, needs to go to a hospital or something. How spotty is it? Is there, are there places where we know that we can get a good signal and all that kind of stuff?
At the retreat house, we can get a signal.
Okay.
Yeah, down in the lower meadow, we don't have any service down there.
Got it.
And we will, part of what we do in coordination is we let our local EMS and law enforcement folks know that we've got a group out at Camp Harmison, so that they're aware that there's a large group there. So, and we have conversation about, so that they're very well aware if there would need to be some kind of an emergency response.
Okay.
And I'll also let you know that it's pretty much common knowledge when we get up there, but I am a emergency medical technician here in Maryland. And yeah, there has been times where, I have had no problem jumping in to at least provide medical services until West Virginia certified people can arrive.
Mark, Bob, anybody else have any other questions?
I'm good. I'm just gathering information. Thanks, Becky.
Okay. All right. Well, I will send this out. Actually, what I probably will do, instead of clogging up everybody's email, I will probably upload it to the Camp Joy Facebook page and to the Camp Joy website. And I'll send you the links for it there so that it doesn't clog the emails, because I'm sure it'll be a big file.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I hope to see you at Camp Joy.